The question is all about violent dreams and sleep disruptions and feeling paralyzed in the sleep and trying the best not to put bad inputs in the mind through magazine or videos or films or television, and yet the mind is going through a very traumatic, disturbed sleep. What could be the reason? The reason basically is because of not knowing what we have in our own subconscious mind. And definitely not even having any clue about our unconscious mind. That is why it is called unconscious, because you are not conscious about it. And it is very hard and difficult to know what we have in our unconscious mind. And this unconscious and subconscious mind is carrying the impressions, the memories of not only this life, but all the past lives which we have lived so far. So those experiences, good, bad, wicked, nice, ecstatic, etc., whatever the possibilities are for a human being to experience, our mind has seen that, our mind has experienced that. I'll give you one example, Lisa. One of my American disciple, born in Italy, she went to a psychiatrist, a very famous name for past life regression. And in that past life regression, she found out that she was born at one time in Egypt, and her present husband was her brother at that time. And the king of her country had given an order of death, meaning they were buried alive. So in her regression, she saw herself being dragged, being pushed, being stoned, being buried under the ground, and all the sand is falling on her, and she is choking to death. And the first thing which broke in her body was her spine. So that gruesome pain of spine getting broken and being suffocated and being in that claustrophobic, when you are buried alive, it's obviously going to be very traumatic. So these scenes at that time were right in front of her, and she's seeing herself going through that. And one peculiar thing was that her brother in that past life was her present husband. And this gentleman was born in Punjab, different culture, different religion, was a Sikh. She born in Italy, by profession, herself a psychiatrist, and herself went for this past life regression therapist course. And these two met in a very unusual situations, and once they met, they just, what you typically say in English language, they fall in love. So they've fallen in love, and then the guy proposed, and she accepted, and they got married, and they were happily living together for a long time when they met me. So she told me this whole experience, and she got herself, now she's a psychiatrist and a trained psychiatrist, but yet she got herself under treatment to know, one, why she's having this acute back pain, two, why she met this person, her husband, and what's the connection, and three, she was very intrigued to know about, because born and bred up like a Christian, just one life where it is being taught. And why these things are happening in her life. And when actually she traveled, she saw certain places and she could recognize those places, but not very clearly. So coming back to the point, the story unfolded for her in this therapy that one, this is not the first life which is happening. Two, she saw that the whole thing, and actually she went back to Egypt to look at that place. So, the Western mind doubts everything. So she just wanted to have a physical evidence, and she tried her best to seek more answers about that. And our text, the sacred text which we have, from the Puranas to the Upanishads to the Buddhist scripture text and to the Jaina scriptures, they are all talking about that we are not new on this earth. We have been born so many times. And like in this life, you have met, say, if you count, maybe hundreds of people, school, college, work, social, family circle, work, office colleagues, and the people whom you see on the roads, on the train, on the planes, so many people. But whatever you see gets stored in your subconscious. Whatever you hear gets stored in your unconscious. And whether it is a direct experience or whether it is a passive, meaning indirect experience, like you saw somebody getting killed or murdered, or you read something, or you watched something at some certain time of the life, even that is going to stay. And our mind is like a CCTV camera. It's going to record everything. And these recordings are going into the hard disk of your unconscious mind. And this unconscious mind periodically is affecting the subconscious mind, and sleep is the time where this subconscious mind unfolds. The lid is off. The lid is off from the subconscious. And then these impressions and these things which you saw or you heard, again, not only of this life, we are talking about all those lives which we have lived. Yes, we don't remember, our conscious mind doesn't remember, but yet it is still there, very much there. It's very deep, but it is there. It is there. So our unconscious is having a great impact on our subconscious, and our subconscious plays a big time in the dream. Hence, all these disturbed things which you are watching, and you have written yourself that maybe the body wakes up, but mind is still in that dream sequence. Hence, the body is feeling paralyzed, but the mind is still very much active in whatever scenario it is watching in the dream state. The point is, we can go on and on about, what it is. But my point would be that it is better we understand the ways and means to bring calmness to the subconscious mind. And about these impressions which we have, one, it cannot be deleted. This is something which we need to accept. It cannot be deleted, but it can be made, like a very light impression. Have you ever used an eraser if you have written with the pencil? Sometimes you don't like something, you want to just erase it. But if you have dug deep with your pencil onto the paper, then the mark of the pencil is going to be very deep. So you erase it with your eraser, you rub it, and if that the pencil was not used very deep or strongly, then that whatever matter you have written or the diagram which you made, you can erase it. But if it was used, the pencil was used strongly, then you do erase it, but it's still there. And sometimes it's very deep. No matter how much you erase, the paper gets torn, but it doesn't go away. So what I wish to say is that with right yogic sadhana, we can make these impressions to go into lighter mode. If not deleted properly, which is not possible, It is more to, how we can decrease the intensity, the visibility, the prominence, or the strength of those impressions. For that, the first and the foremost step is that we accept that mind has all this stuff which we are not liking today. 2, we don't judge ourselves for allowing these things to go into the mind. 3, we take it as an experience which is happening at a psychic level, which is happening, but yet nothing has happened. The dreams are not solid. Dreams are not physical. It's just coming out of your thought process, from memories, from those impressions which were there in your mind. Like if you ever have seen a movie in a theater, there are many different types of people who are watching the cinema. There are one who will get so involved, like if it is a martial art movie and Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee is yeah. And the people sitting on the chair, they are also doing the same sounds. They get so agitated that they begin to move their arms and hands, and sometimes the neighbor who is sitting there gives a dirty look. What are you doing, man? Sit properly. What are you doing? But they get so excited. So much of adrenaline is rushing in their body system that they totally forget that there is nothing on that screen. There's nothing on the screen. It's all just a shadow and music accompanying to that. 2, there are people who will watch but who won't get this excited. They won't get physical. 3rd is a person who I would, I would recommend actually that you should, once again go to a theater, but don't watch the screen, just watch people. You'll have the best time. And you have to just remember there is nothing on the screen. So go before the movie commences, sit there's nothing on the screen, and then the movie begins, and then the whole drama, the melodrama, the music, and the horror, or the scary, or the adventure, or the chase, whatever is happening, is actually nothing is happening. I was reading a joke when the first cinema came. It was called talkies. Because initially the movies were silent. There was no soundtrack. And it was just static pictures which were used. Then it was moving pictures. But it was minus any sound. Right? And then came the movies which came with the sound. Now this was a very exciting time. And that's why it was called talkies. Meaning the picture is talking to you. So it isn't just a static movie, it's talking to you. So it was called talkies. So this new movie came in which the heroine is about to go in a river. So she is taking her, the long dress off, and she is in a process of unbuttoning her undies, and a train comes. And when the train comes, the scene is that the woman is not being seen because the train has come. So the train passes by, and by the time the train goes, the lady is already in the pool, in the river. So nothing is seen. So it was a very suggestive kind of thing, just to imply that the lady was about to take a bath. And so this guy, so the whole movie, he comes out, he bought another ticket and went back to see the show. Then he went 3rd time. And then there was a late night show also. He bought 4th ticket, same day. The usherer, the gatekeeper, he said, "Sir, 4th time, one day, did you really like the movie?" He said, "No, movie is okay. But there is, the scene, the train and the lady." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm wondering, maybe the train gets late this time." After all, it is a train. It might miss and I get to see what I want to see. So he is so excited, he buys ticket and sees 4 shows, but yet he couldn't see that the train was never late. Train was coming every time. But how involved people get by watching just a movie. And let me say, Lisa, what you are seeing is a movie. But the mind gets so involved into that, everything is so real. Because it is real, hence you are scared or fearful or frenzied or, going through various emotions. Hateful, vengeful, liking something, disliking something, getting passionate, getting disturbed. So many emotions. So just the realization that what we are seeing now is also like a movie theater. So I can call this world as a talkies. See all these the images which are right in front of you, they all talk. Right? And what you are seeing now, this Gurumaa is also talk. It's so much of talk. And palanthora of emotions through the visuals are going to be there. So this realization that what I am seeing is just a dream and it's not true, it's an illusion, takes away the poison or the excitement of that visual, the fear or the pain of that visual which is creating the disturbance. So Vedanta says what you are seeing now is also just an illusion, and what you see in the sleep time is another kind of an illusion created by your own subconscious mind, and nothing is real. Now, it's easier for me to say this, and it's very easy for you to understand if it is, but it's still a theory. So how do we make it a more real-time experience of us, of myself, of my own true self, and being in that point that whatever I might see in waking state or in the dream state should look to me, feel to me like an illusion. Have you ever seen any show of an illusionist? They do strange, wacko stuff, and it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling how they do it. And yet, we all know he is going to just create an illusion, but yet people get a jaw-dropping experience when they watch that. Because they do it with such a finesse. It's really very mind-boggling. So Vedanta says what you are seeing now is the work of the greatest illusionist. Right? So nothing is there and yet everything is happening. So the more you meditate on this, the more you see this, by not getting involved, by being a witness to that, the more mind goes into the zone of calmness. But at physical level, when it is vata vitiation happened in the body, then the dream gets very disturbed. So from the Ayurvedic perspective, I would say if the apana vayu, it's the sub-prana of the main prana, apana vayu, when that gets vitiated, imbalanced, then person will have a very disturbed sleep. And the person will have very violent dreams. And for that, it is great to get abhyangam and shirodhara. And the third very important procedure is, it's called Anuvasan Basti. Anuvasan Basti in which medicated herbal oil is used, and it is placed in your body via your the anus and the rectum. So it's the technician only can do that. There's a procedure, there's a preparation to it. Then the administration of the oil is done, and then there is a procedure which you do. Some certain exercises are done, like lifting your legs for some time, massaging the stomach and the back of the... So Anuvasan Basti, if is done for 21 days in continuity, will actually work on your sleep. I remember a young boy, 12 years old, was brought here. He was having these visions. He would see ghosts. He's talking to them. And family thought that he is haunted. Some entity has gone in his body. And they came to me and wondering that what should they do. And I said, you don't have to do anything. And he's not haunted, and no ghost is interested in us, the living beings. So let's give you some solution. So that boy was here for almost a week, and he was given this Panchakarma Kriya. Abhyangam was done, and Anuvasan Vasti was done. And I'll suggest, Ayurveda talks about eating prunes at the night. Either you make a smoothie out of it, no ice for sure, because the moment I say smoothie, people think, oh, it's a cold, icy one. And no ice, and just the prunes, and is drunk in with the milk, with some clarified butter, the ghee in that, and you take it, and you have the Anuvasan Basti. And there are certain herbs which calm down the brain also. So all together, when these 3-4 processes are done, so after I think 7 days or so, I met with this boy who was having these, visions, very horrific visions. And he said, no, I don't see now anything at all. So it was just a case of vayu vitiation. That's it, nothing else. It creates imbalance in the brain, and the brain begins to have these hallucinations. But when these hallucinations happen, they are so real again. The mind has this element of magic with it. It can give you imaginative things, but will make you believe it is real. That was happening with this boy. And he went back, and his mother learned the technique, and she kept on doing the procedure for another 2 weeks. Absolutely fine. So all that disturbance which was happening. Now, I would say the boy was really lucky and fortunate that the family came to me and gave this problem, and I could give them the Ayurvedic consult, and they could do it, and they came out of this issue. Had this boy been taken to a psychiatrist, they would have been given, my God, antidepressant and psychotic diseases, and they calm down the brain, and for the chemical imbalances, and God knows what not this little child would have been given. So sometimes it's just the body is in imbalance, and if we bring the balance of Vayu in the body, then your sleep quality improves, and your violent dreams would just go away, diminished. And you can have a beautiful, uninterrupted sleep. So sometimes it is the body which is creating these violent dreams, and sometimes it is your subconscious which is carrying so much of, burden with it, unsorted, and there's so much of ignorance of seeing the things as real which are not real, and the whole ignorance about the self, and about the world, and about the truth creates this a strange mind situation, a strange brain situation, where the sleep gets very badly affected. I am recalling another case. I was in New Jersey, and there's a small town called Pocono. One of my disciples is a neurologist, so I was visiting him. They took me to their hospital where he made this lady, his patient, who had a history of violent, sleep. That in sleep, she would begin to beat up her husband, throw the things, break the things, and in the morning she doesn't even remember anything. She actually got divorced because of this. Then she met this doctor, and when he told me her situation, I said, okay, we were about to do a clinical trial of Yoga Nidra in his hospital. So I said, if you can bring that lady, then I'll be there when this thing is, done. So this lady who had involuntary movement happening in her arm all the times, so she was brought and her vitals were taken, and then she laid down in that sleep clinic, and the Yoga Nidra started. Now I am there, behind those glass panes I could see her, and everything is getting recorded. Her EEG was being taken, her ECG was being taken. Now she started doing Yoga Nidra, and her arm is moving. And halfway around the Yoga Nidra, her arm stopped moving. And this doctor, Chabadia, who was there with me, he just gave me a look. He said, what is happening? I know her from last 5 years I'm treating her, and this has never happened. So she was still, she was peaceful, Yoga Nidra ended, all the reports were taken, and then I entered in. And then they introduced her to me, that this is the person whose voice you were listening when the tape was being played. She was very happy to meet me, and she said that in last 10 years, this was the peaceful, calmest ever which I had been. And it was a Yoga Nidra happening. It's not a Nidra session. And she was up all the time. She never slept. And she experienced the deepest relaxation. Now the involuntary movement which was happening in her body was not because of her mind. It was because of some nervous disorders coming from the brain, because brain too is agitated. And doing Yoga Nidra, her brain calmed down. And we could see in the EEG graph, the alpha waves were being formed. We could see that she is in a kind of a deep sleep, and yet she is totally conscious. So up to this day, she is doing Yoga Nidra every day. And she was so thankful to her doctor, not for her meds, but for bringing me in her life and bringing Yoga Nidra in her life. And she profusely kept on thanking. I said, well, you don't have to thank me, because what I am presenting is something which is a great work of our rishis, of our yogis. So I am just bringing that age-old ancient art of yogic sleep to present-day modern people who are suffering physically and mentally so much. So I am not the one who can accept your gratefulness. So you can just pay your tribute to those great yogis and the great Mahatmas and the great seers who understood the dreams, the sleep, the waking state so deeply that not only they designed, they gave this beautiful thing for all the future generations. So the body and the mind, when they are in imbalance, only then the sleep is imbalanced. So either we take the body approach, and that is with the Ayurveda, right treatment, and if we can have a yogic practice included in the treatment, meaning doing pranayam, and especially there is one pranayam which is called Unmani pranayam. Someday I'll teach that. That is one pranayam which really works to calm down your disturbed, present mind state. But in any case, doing Nadi Shodhan pranayam will help. and doing the Omkar Dhvani, the chant of the Om. Very well it has been, tried, tested, observed, clinically also, that it works beautifully to calm down our brain. Obviously, when the brain is calm, when body is relaxed, your sleep will be so deep and so good, and would be not violent, would be not disturbed. And I always say this, lucky are those who have a dreamless sleep happening. Dreams are not bad as such. It's just a process. It's a way of the subconscious mind to throw things out, and it's the way of the brain to sort out what memories to keep for the long term or for the short term. It's a juggling of the experiences, the sensations, the perceptions, the memories, and everything is getting juggled up in the dream state. But to have a quality sleep is something of a great blessing. And we can receive this blessing if we follow the yogic way, the yogic lifestyle, and certain things which are called Ratri Charya, certain things which you should do every night before going to sleep. That Ratri Charya is very, very important. So those who do the Ratri Charya and Din Charya means the schedule for the day and there's a schedule for night. It's a yogic way of lifestyle, I would say. Once we have that, things get sorted out very nicely and very beautifully.